What's happening, my people? I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Well, we are live streaming today the Fed speech. So let's see what happens today, guys. Dollar does look bullish, to be honest with you guys. It does look bullish. All right, we've got 6 minutes till the Fed. Okay, we got 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes till the Fed. Okay, we got 6 minutes, 6 minutes. Let me just mute this. All right, we've got 4 minutes, guys. I'm just trying to get everything set up for the stream. All right, so we've got 3 minutes till the news release. Now, as I said to you guys, ideally, I do want to see a bullish dollar, right? I do want to see a bullish dollar. You know, we do have some liquidity to the downside, but this is mainly a higher time frame play, right? So off of the back of the daily, now that we've taken out Friday's high on the daily, I want to see this imbalance hold and then give us a shorting opportunity to potentially take out these lows down here. So that's what I'm potentially looking at. Okay, that would be the overall target, but if we do decide to be bullish, then that's also fine. So I'm going to start looking at some areas such as here, come Fomc, and we'll progress from there. Okay, gold is in a nice area to go long, to potentially break the all-time highs once again. So there is that. All right, how's my audio, guys? Let me know how my audio is. Is my audio okay? Is it all good? Okay. 1 minute, 50 seconds, 50 seconds, 50 seconds to the FOMC minutes opens. Feel free to chat to me inside of the chat. Okay, if you got any questions, let me know. I will do my best to, of course, answer. All right, 8 seconds. All right, nothing much just yet. We are getting a little bit of bullish price action from the dollar at the moment. Let's see if this wants to rise. You know, usually with FOMC minutes, you've kind of got to give it a little bit of time to get going. I might even get Bloomberg up on my screen so that I can listen in. Let's see.
I chose Wix for my business because of its massive scope for functionality and freedom of creation.
Various participants mentioned a willingness to tighten policy further should risks to inflation materialize. They noted disappointed readings on inflation over the first quarter and indicators pointing to strong economic momentum.
So what pairs are you guys trading, guys?
To financial
what pairs are you guys
stability
trading?
in a higher inflation
What pairs are you guys looking at the moment?
including unrealized losses on assets, high commercial real estate exposure, significant reliance by some banks on uninsured deposits, and cyber threats. Several participants commented on the rapid growth of private credit markets, warning they should be monitored because some risks from those markets may not yet be apparent. The overall economic assessment, though, pretty much as you've heard from Fed speakers over the past 3 weeks, they expected inflation to continue falling towards their 2% target, but were disappointed by the apparent stall in the first quarter. That reduced their level of confidence in what was happening. A bit of a list of what they're looking for going forward is in the minutes. Lower readings on rent growth for new leases, a decline in wage growth in non-housing services, and perhaps higher productivity. There was general agreement that higher rates of immigration were keeping labor markets relatively tight.
Sent me a
nothing
message.
Basically that we've heard since then changes the outlook, and nothing in these minutes really disabuses the higher for longer narrative, guys.
Gold
All right,
is
Mike
dropping down
McKee,
lower.
of course, there in Washington. Mike, we're going to come back to you in just a moment. We do want to do a quick check on the markets. I'm looking like there is a little bit of move to the downside. Let's start with the equity trade. You've got the S&P down about 17. It was down about 14 heading into the Fed minutes. The Dow was
Okay.
down about
Euro
138,
USD
now down
is
about
continuing to push
168.
lower for the time being.
And the NASDAQ 100 was down about 34, now down about 50 points. So we are seeing equity losses steepen a little bit right after, as Mike went through those Fed minutes. Looking at the Treasury curve, of course, more important in terms of what the Fed has to say, but the 10-year was yielding about 441. We're now looking at 442, so maybe a slight tick up there. 5-year note was yielding about 445, now at 446. And the 2-year,
All right, so at the moment, it does look like the dollar
certainly,
wants
the shorter
to
end of the
take
yield
out the
curve, always
highs.
most sensitive in terms of what might come out of the Federal
That's perfectly
Reserve.
fine. I'm
That
currently
2-year note was
watching
yielding
gold.
486, now at 487. So really, Mike and Tim, really some slight movements
There's
here.
any pairs
Hey,
you
Mike,
guys are
help us
looking at? Just
decode
let me know
a little
inside the
bit
chat.
of what these words actually
Let me
mean
know
here.
inside the
In
chat,
the Fed
guys.
minutes, quote, many uncertain about the degree of restrictiveness, and, quote, various participants willing to tighten more if needed. Is many more than various?
You just hit on one of the sore points in the lockup today. There is a sort of semi-official Fed list of these adjectives and what they mean in sort of a ranked order for the amount of participants they're referring to. But various is not on the list. It was pointed out to Fed folks today. And they said they would try to get us an answer on where it is on the list. Now, we've heard from a number of members of the Open Market Committee that if inflation started to go back up, was a danger, they would be willing to raise interest rates. So that's not really a new thought, and it is kind of logical that it would come up in their discussions at their last meeting. But we don't have a number to put on or a way to tell which is a larger group.
Mike, anything, okay, so there was the Jay Powell presser, and my understanding from what Anna Wong said earlier, just ahead of the minutes, that the Fed does have some discretion on what they show in the minutes. But so I'm wondering, in terms of what came out in the minutes, what we've been hearing from Fed speakers, I think there's been 50 officials or so since that May 1st meeting. There's been a lot of talk, if you will. I don't know, is everything kind of coming together on message, or I don't know, how do you see it?
Well, that's also interesting, Carol, because they did talk about their messaging and, according to the minutes, generally felt that Americans understood what the Fed was trying to do, and they needed to keep hammering away at it, but they seemed pleased with their messaging and their communications policies. So they're hoping that, I guess, translates through to some sort of additional reaction. They do note that inflation expectations have stayed pretty much anchored, especially at the longer end. And so they didn't feel, there was no indication that they felt they needed to change or emphasize anything in particular.
So higher for longer, high for longer, and yet anything in terms of, as we said, kind of ahead of this, that Jay Powell had a lot of opportunity to talk about, if we needed to maybe even raise rates again. Anything around that we got a little bit more on, or not really?
Not
All
really.
right,
In general, the minutes reflect what we've been hearing from the members
one of my
of the
boys
Open Market
just sent
Committee
me a
over the last
message.
3 weeks that
He's
they were
having some
disappointed
troubles
in
live
the
streaming inside of
inflation
Discord.
numbers. It took
But I
away
am
some of their
live on YouTube
confidence
with you
that
guys
they
at
might
the
be able to
moment.
cut rates sooner, and they feel like they need to just
Trying
stay
to
with higher for longer for right
ascertain
now.
where gold
Although
is
we
likely
did have
to
a
head
mention
to.
of various people talking about raising
Obviously,
rates.
guys, if you are
that was
watching
only
this,
in the
bear with
context
me.
of inflation
In due
starting to
time,
rise
I will
again
get much
and
better at
having,
hosting these live
sort of
streams on YouTube.
an outlook
There is a
of,
lot of technical stuff that you actually have to
problems,
figure out
from
in order for you to
inflation that would come from
really,
that. They didn't seem like
you
they
know,
think
have
that's
everything
a
run
very
smoothly.
likely possibility, but
So
the
if
risks
anyone's
are
got any
still there.
suggestions,
Mike,
let me
what's
know
your number
inside
one
of
or two
the
questions here that, like,
comment
coming off
section.
of all of this, so
I'm
much
literally
Fed
trying to
speak,
get up
you
the
were,
chat box right now.
at Amelia Island, surrounded by
It's not
Fed
really giving me that
speakers,
option at the
all
moment.
in on Fed policy and conversations, and then here we get the Fed minutes. I mean, what's the top two questions that you've got for Jay Powell?
I've got some live breakdown videos coming out for you
Well,
guys.
I'd put it this way. I think the best description description of where we are right now and what the Fed's trying to do came from Susan Collins, the Boston Fed president, down at Amelia Island last night, when she said, at the moment,
So at the moment, for
patience
gold,
is the most important
we are
factor.
currently respecting
They
this area
don't
here.
know what's going to happen with the economy. They have some ideas on what they think should
Could
happen,
be some
but
potential shorts from
many
here
of
to
them
bring
will just
price
admit
down lower.
that they've been surprised over the past 2 years
gonna
by
move
what's
this out of the
happened in the
way
economy.
here.
So they're
It's not
going to
relevant
wait
anymore.
and see and try to have enough
So
confidence
let's see what
that
price does
once they
inside of
start
this
moving,
area. If we
they
are
can
going to get a
continue
continuation
to
of a
move.
bullish
They don't have to go up and
dollar.
down.
Do they get a pass for maybe being uncertain about stuff? Like, I guess I always think, they're Fed officials, they should know everything. But having said that, we're still kind of figuring our way post-pandemic, 4 years out, but we're still kind of working our way through it.
Yeah, that was a topic down at Amelia Island because there's a lot of Wall Street people who attend that conference. And there are people who think the Fed has gotten it wrong and they need to correct course. They need to change their models and their thinking. You don't get a real argument from the Fed that they got things wrong. They admit they got inflation wrong. They're just thinking at this point that the best they can do is wait and watch
Bloomberg.
because the models aren't working and
Hold on.
any in part because people think they might not, and they might want to make a statement there. But then you have people like Chris Waller last night saying that end of the year maybe, and Raphael Bostic saying end of the year. So there doesn't seem to be an emphasis on an earlier rather than later rate move. And
Okay.
maybe July
I did think this would be a little bit more of a blockbuster.
may not have enough evidence yet that they
Hey, Mike, real quickly, 30 seconds here.
Block.
Mohamed El-Arian writing a Bloomberg opinion piece on the Fed's
So it says here on Bloomberg, Fed minutes, many uncertain about the degree of restrictiveness.
Fed officials have recently
Okay.
pointed to a notable uniformity in their policy signaling of high rates for longer at a time when Wall Street analysts are embracing a wider band of uncertainty for their projections of economic growth and inflation. Real quickly, your thoughts about that uniformity? Is that a problem in your view?
Well, I don't think it's as uniform as perhaps Mohammed is talking about. You have to realize we're not just talking about the consensus forecast, the median forecast in their summary of economic projections. They have a range, and the ranges are fairly wide, as they are on Wall Street. It's just that the options for them are very constrained in terms of 25 basis points here or 25 basis points there. So there isn't a lot of difference on the policy side, but in terms of what they see happening, there is a kind of a range of views.
Got it. Mike, thank you so much. Michael McKee, Bloomberg News International Economics and Policy Correspondent at the Fed in Washington. And now to the equity trade we go. The records that stocks keep hitting and to the impact NVIDIA may have after it reports today after the close.
And so to Gina Martin-Adams we go. She's Bloomberg Intelligence Chief Equity Strategist here in the studio. Gina, NVIDIA certainly on our minds. It's what we want to talk to you about. But I do want to give you the chance to weigh in on what we just heard from Mike McKee and what we just heard in the minutes from the latest Federal Reserve.
Okay.
Any surprises there? Anything that you
Price is not really doing much at the moment, guys. So I'm just gonna take a look
I think the fact that we're now
at investing.com and see if I can notice anything going on that side of things.
5 or 6 cuts is pretty notable that equities have just risen throughout the entire time period, and maybe we're now in an environment where earnings actually matter a whole lot more than what's happening at the Fed, which is great news. That said, at least from a broad perspective, we did see the gains in small caps kind of get topped out, right? Small caps have been under
Okay, dollar is continuing to push, guys.
strained.
Dollar is continuing to push.
In an environment in which the Fed may not
It looks like this area for gold is currently holding.
There is some risk from a leverage perspective. If there is some risk from a rates perspective,
If that's going to be the case,
small caps, it also is a cue that if we're going to get a
if there is another potential retest, we might
to get it from the Fed. So there's
we might enter this
really
for
important, but
some
I think it's
shorts.
notable, right?
You know, even USD JPY looks good to take out that high there on the 2 hour.
Rising,
problematic.
Okay, if UJ can take out this high, that can be our target.
Well, this is why we love talking to you, because you focus on the fundamentals and earnings. Earnings top of mind.
Okay, there is framework building,
S&P
at least for this
500,
PM session. There is
S&P
framework.
500 this year. I don't need to tell you all the
There is
superlatives when
framework.
it comes to Nvidia. How important though is it, the results today, and how it might
So
impact the trade?
what I'm kind of looking at here is I'm looking to see if price is going to either hold this area and give us a short, which is what it's currently doing, or we might be able to push through on the other end, test the imbalance, and then we can go for a long. But for the time being, we are holding this, and it does feel a little bit too late. It might be, guys.
And
It
that's
might
largely
be.
because what we're seeing is in the rest of the index, remember Nvidia's gain, a sort of meteoric rise in earnings.
There's a lot of talk about in the video
When the rest of the
and
index
how well
was
it's been
sort of
doing.
off
It's been pushing.
and there was no earnings growth elsewhere.
I'm not
Now,
really
Nvidia's
focusing
growth
too much
is
on
to be
stocks for the time
its
being.
contribution to earnings looks to be topping out. It'll still contribute a whole lot more to earnings growth than it did in the last than it did 2 years ago as a company, and that expectation is important to consider. But also, there's more to the index today than there was a year ago when Nvidia suddenly surprised us and created an earnings growth story when there were none. Now we're seeing earnings growth start to accumulate in the rest of the index. We're starting to see growth emerge elsewhere. The result to that is that I think sentiment is still important. This is still an important stock contributing to themes. But all of a sudden there are more investment opportunities in the index, whereas a year ago there were none. And you had this stock creating this meteoric rise, sort of in a dearth
Yep, gold's really going for it.
activity. There was one
The dollar is maintaining its strength. It is currently down 40 pips,
So if it's a, let's say, mega disappoint,
which is a-okay.
surprises to the upside, would you assume that it will still
I might be
be as
interested in taking some shorts off of this 1 minute candle if we do get a pullback up.
Without a doubt, it's still huge. It's
Yeah.
still a very big stock. It's still a very big portion of the index. It's still a very big portion of earnings growth. Should it disappoint, it definitely depletes some of the optimism in the AI-specific stories in the equity market. But when we look across the equity market, for example, we follow themes pretty closely in our team. We have 30 stocks that are affiliated with 4 or more themes. NVIDIA is one of those stocks. NVIDIA is actually underperforming Siemens Energy as another stock. There's another theme stock. Some of our sort of energy-related kind of themes, some of the
So ideally, if we can hold this low,
fire in 2020.
realistically, I don't want price to beat this low here. Okay. We should at least hold this low at the bare minimum. Okay.
That investors should be focused on right now
Yeah,
beyond AI.
I think
Gina?
there are actually
Energy.
a lot. There's a lot in energy and sort of natural resources.
I'm gonna try and take this short.
Stories in, materials, our small cap
Okay,
strategies, and
once we get a
like
pullback.
Casper was just telling me today,
If we get a
that
pullback.
Materials earnings estimates for the second half are surging. So there's some, China, for example. Why aren't we talking about the fact that China's 8 biggest stocks are actually outperforming the Mag 7 right now? This is something we're writing for tomorrow. There are a
That's a nice
lot
little
of
preview for
other
tomorrow.
things that are starting to happen that are really interesting out
Yeah.
there. Financials is another one we've talked about. I could go all day.
Yeah.
But
But
there
that's
are a lot
signs
of
of
other
a-
things happening.
Because it's interesting, we were talking about transports. I think we're, the transports index, the Dow Transports was down below its 200-day moving average. The SOX is still way off its March high. Like there's some
Yeah.
divergence
Yeah.
that we're seeing.
Gold is not coming
and
back,
that we're
but
seeing as maybe not necessarily a good sign, but I'm just curious. It sounds like there's pockets of the market different that are doing well. Is there divergence, and is that okay, or
Yeah,
what?
I mean it's a messy market without a doubt. It's
Okay.
not a perfect environment. Nothing ever really is. It's impossible to expect every stock in the S&P 500 to be on fire at all times. But nonetheless,
Actually, that's always worrisome.
yeah, that's a time when you really need to get scared. But I do think actually what's happening in the index is really interesting in terms of rotation and potential leadership shifts and some new stories emerging, new fundamental stories emerging. But even outside the United States, that's where we're actually seeing a lot of really interesting divergences, a lot of really interesting sort of budding earnings growth stories, recovery stories, in particular out of Asia. So there are a lot of changes. I think that's going to characterize 2024 as just a period of immense amount of market change,
Yeah.
not necessarily resulting in major downdraft or major upswing.
It does sound like when I
See,
hear you
the thing is, right,
opportunities and stories happening in
gold
themes,
is actually in an area where we can push up from on the higher time frame.
Anything that you advise people
And that's definitely weighing in terms of, you know, which side we actually want to take this trade,
that was interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think
or
that
take any
actually
potential trade, should I say.
what's happening outside of the public markets and outside of our sort of wonderful sort of purview of immense amounts of data and understanding is always what worries me. I don't know, you know, with great degree of confidence exactly what's happening with private credit, what default rates
You're
are
not
happening
alone.
there. I know that the financials that report to us, the financials included in the public indices, are telling us that they've provisioned for loan losses and they're not seeing a massive acceleration in those loan losses, so everything seems quote unquote a-okay. That is the only story that I have with
Right.
real data behind it.
But what about the other
But
players? And
are
the
there other
impact?
players? Are there other impacts on the economy?
Oof,
Definitely
this
something
gold's
that
going.
we need to try to keep an eye on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Fed minutes,
this is not going to come
media,
back.
and bigger, broader picture. Really appreciate it.
That's
Gina
just what it is,
Markops,
guys.
Bloomberg Intelligence Chief Equity Strategist. Tim and I were both listening to Surveillance. We're like, we want Gina too. Also in today's
See,
trade, we're gonna
on the
continue
8 hour,
to
right,
retail
we are sitting inside of this 8 hour candle. Now, price can react anywhere inside of this candle. It doesn't necessarily have to stop here. Now, if we look at things from the daily perspective, I'm fumbling my words, guys. Perspective, we are inside of a daily candle. So ideally, if we are going to look for any longs, this is the area. Looking for shorts really isn't the most high probable setup, to be honest with you guys. I'm going to potentially hold off on the shorts just because we've already missed the shorts. I did mark out this area. Price has kind of already left from the station. But I do believe that we can run these lows one more time. We can run these lows one more time. I still do think this is a buy. Okay. Like if there's anywhere I would look for a buy, it would be here. But we might not be ready just yet. Gold is continuing to drop. Okay, we're currently at the body of this low. I'm going to set some alerts for the low of the candle. I'm going to take a look at UJ. UJ is moving, but not really. What's GU doing? GU's price action is terrible. GU's price action is absolutely terrible. Alright, Euro USD still dumping off. That's fine, that's good. So for this setup, we were looking at this 4-hour candle area to give us the short. Now this has been such a slow burner, but it's currently almost 70 pips in profit. Been holding this trade since, when is this? Thursday last week. Still in this trade, people. Still in this trade. It's ridiculous. Alright, dollar looks very likely to take out its most recent high. Gold is getting closer and closer to the lows. How's Bitcoin holding up? Let me full screen this for you guys. Okay, Bitcoin is currently coming down. It's around 62k, $62,300. In all honesty, this just looks like it's going to make a new all-time high. There's a high probability of Bitcoin making a new all-time high. Okay, we may potentially play back down into this daily candle for a pullback, and then we could potentially get another continuation to the upside. There goes gold, guys. There goes gold. So we ran those lows. The trade is no longer valid. It's been invalidated. And this happens. Sometimes this happens. You know, you look for a trade. You're just not able to enter. And that's okay.
10-year 4.42% with a 2-year 4.87%. Spot gold $39 the ounce, down 1.6%, 23.80 right now on gold. And West Texas Intermediate crude down 1.5%, 77.45 a barrel. In the meantime, traders are awaiting Nvidia's results for clues as to whether the AI enthusiasm has run too far or if it will keep driving.
Okay, we'll keep this stream going for another 15-ish minutes. We're not really getting much, unfortunately. We're not really getting much, guys. Price is pretty much continuing off of the back of what it did earlier on today. Now, at New York session today, I was looking for some shorts off of gold. And as you can see, this is where I was looking for some entries to, of course, you know, let you guys know, etc., etc. But price just has been real slappy. Let's just say that. So, taking a look at things from the 4-hour perspective on gold, we are closing in to this 4-hour candle. I actually prefer this candle. This is more full-bodied, and the body of the candle actually reaches the lowest. So I do like this area for some longs. So we'll see, maybe potentially tomorrow morning, London session, and potentially New York session tomorrow if we get some longs on gold. But for the time being, that's pretty much all there is to current live stream. Look, if you guys are enjoying the live stream, I'm going to try to do more of this. Just drop a like down inside of the live stream, okay? Just drop a like, okay? If you are new, subscribe. It is free. Just subscribe, and there'll be more videos on the way. Turn on your post notifications so that you're notified whenever there is a new video. And as I always say, remember the theory behind the practice. So I'm probably gonna give this a few more minutes. Okay, this is not really interesting me, to be honest. Like, everything that price is doing at the moment is to be expected. And Bloomberg is not really giving me any information to kind of work with anyways, as usual.
Buying program, so they really know how to buy well, and they have the ability to even implement selective price increases, something you're not hearing from the other retailers. So the combination of that boosted their merchandise margin, and they were able to be more efficient on the freight side by allocating more to rail.
If you guys enjoyed this live stream, don't forget to drop a like, drop a like, drop a like. I will be ending the stream here, and I will try to give you guys a live stream tomorrow New York session, as I believe that there's some high probable moves on the way for tomorrow. Thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate the time that you have shared with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
You have to think about, it's not just, having different segments, including home, but home does help. It